I need to thank David and David for allowing me to give a presentation today, but more importantly, I'd really like to thank all of these WPACs, because your presentations this morning have written my plan for next year. So I've taken enough advice from that to do my 1 year, possibly my 3-year plan. The Red Deer River Watershed Alliance is obviously situated, the river starts over in the Banff National Park. It comes through the Dixon Dam, comes to Red Deer, and then through to Drumheller and some of the drier areas. But we face pretty much the same problems as all of you. We face problems with the destruction of the wetlands, the riparian areas, over cattle, over grazing, too much agriculture, not enough agriculture, oil and gas industry. It's all the same. It's all the same issues as all of you. We've got 4 members of staff. So what do we do? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go over what we do, and then we're going to talk about options for the IWMP. Do you want to know what IWMP is? Yeah, no, nor did I either. Integrated Watershed Management Plan, which is interesting because Harry and I came up with a WMP yesterday, which is the worst management practices. We're going to try and promote them, but I don't think it will be very successful. We all have WMPs in our office. So what we do, we have curriculum-based environmental education. We have youth and service groups that we outreach to. We outreach to watershed stewardship groups. We have partner events. We have lake days. We have a monthly outreach event. We have ambassador awards where we celebrate the best practice in the watershed. We have an e-newsletter, and I'm working very closely with municipalities on their funding. So there's a lot of activity. I thought I'd highlight you to this wonderful photograph, because I think that we're the only WPAC that has live dinosaurs. Is that right? When I went to Drumheller a couple of months ago, there was these 2 people down here. You can't see them very clearly. They're actually given this dinosaur a pedicure, and I was really impressed with that. I mean, it's a very dangerous job. I think working in Drumheller is very dangerous. I'm going to pass you over to Jose. Jose came to us all of a month ago after working on this sustainability plan for the McGill University.
Yeah, so my name is Jose. I'm the new Watershed Planning Coordinator with the Red Deer River Watershed Alliance, and I've been here all of 5 weeks. So it's great that I'm presenting right after someone like Mark Bennett, who talks about experience, and I'm going to be presenting to you from the special vantage point of inexperience. But I think there's value in that as well, in part because I can come in and ask some of the fundamental questions again, and I'm in that kind of phase of wide-eyed wonder, looking at the world of WPACs and why do WPACs exist in the first place, and what are some of the biggest ideas that we can use to bring us towards a future vision. So, of course, the reason I've been brought on board is to help steward a process of developing an integrated watershed management plan forward. And our goal there is really to develop a plan with the social traction necessary to implement recommendations successfully. So it's rooted in the people that will bring any plan forward. And our ultimate goal, of course, is to create the conditions necessary for a healthy, dynamic, and sustainable watershed, recognizing that an IWMP is just one small piece of the puzzle. On the topic of celebrating successes, we can look at the IWMP process to date. The process is about to turn 5 years old, so in January 2015, we'll be celebrating a birthday. In 2009, the Alliance developed the State of the Watershed Report, which was a major milestone for us. In 2010, our attention turned to developing a terms of reference. And from there, the Alliance embarked on what was really a phase of intensive engagement with stakeholders from across the watershed. They hosted 12 workshops to ask people what their priority issues were and to identify some potential solutions to those issues. From there, the Alliance, though, decided that what we really needed was some solid, hard facts. We lacked the good science necessary to move forward. So thus began a 4-year period to develop 4 background technical reports. So in 2012, the Alliance, with the help of a consultant, developed a background technical report on water quality, followed by another on wetlands, riparian areas, and land use in 2012. A third in 2013 on water quantity, and just this year we concluded, or we finalized a report on terrestrial and aquatic biodiversity. And so these again are some of the puzzle pieces we'll be able to assemble as we move forward to actually write the IWMP. And over that time, I'm happy to say we've engaged approximately 860 people. Now this is another way to look at our process today, and I'm a big process geek. I mean, Mark brought up again that a process of a collaboration process is sort of a fiction. I would agree, it all depends on attitude. That being said, processes are important. If we look back, we began our IWMP process with sort of a broader engagement, really a scoping exercise. And then that really narrowed as we began to engage more experts. So in recent years, while we developed our technical reports, we were engaging a smaller set of people with a smaller set of expertise. And so if you look at that green star there, we're really at an important point in our timeline and saying, where do we want to go from here? How are we going to open up this process again such that we can foster the conditions needed for social traction for this IWMP? And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about a vision for the IWMP process at the Red Deer River Watershed Alliance. Since coming in, I've really just been asking people, why an IWMP? What is the value? What were you really hoping you would get out of such a process? And you know, I've only talked to about 12 people thus far, but the vision I'm hearing is quite consistent. People do not want a shelf duster. You know, they want a report that is grounded in science, something with broad appeal and broad support, something that is educational for the masses, that is inspirational, thus helping to catalyze change, and also something that has, again, the traction to move us forward. Now, using this backcasting approach, we first ask the question, where do we want to go? And from there, we ask the question, where are we currently? Well, all we have so far of the IWMP is a terms of reference. So obviously, we have a lot to do to move this forward to something that's not a shelf duster. We have 4 technical reports, so that will help us move forward. So I just draw these little arrows here. We have the preconditions in place scientifically to develop an IWMP grounded in science. That being said, we're currently in a context of waning public interest, in part because we've been engaging technical experts lately. So one of the questions I'm interested in is how do we, again, broaden the dialogue and re-engage people from across the watershed such that we can have broad appeal, broad support, something that is educational and inspirational. So again, I'm not here to provide advice because I'm such a newbie. I'm just here to kind of present some of the ideas that have been floating around in my head. I'm hoping that over the course of the coming days, some of these ideas will click with people here in the audience, and we'll have a chance to talk them out together. But these are some of the ideas I've been playing with for moving our IWMP process from where we currently are towards the vision that we would like to achieve. The first thing I'm seeing is that it'll be really important for us to really understand the social system that we're working in. So watersheds are social ecological systems, and the Red Deer River Watershed currently has quite a good understanding of the ecological system that we're working in, but a less good understanding of the social system that we're working in. So what does it look like to really understand the social system we're working in? So we could do things like stakeholder mapping, social trend analysis, more interviews, and going back to what a previous presenter said, really looking at ways of fostering or of building deliberate relationships. Another idea I'm playing with is the idea of engaging the unusual suspects too. So Malcolm Gladwell in his book, The Tipping Point, talks about the people that help to really catalyze change in social epidemics or moments of major change. And he talks about connectors, mavens, and salespeople, which are basically people who connect, people who have expertise, and people who are very good at persuasion. So here I'm not just interested in, okay, which scientists are we going to reach? I'm interested in people who have these maybe softer skills and how we can work with them. Another idea we're looking at is how to embrace the power of storytelling. I'm happy to see that some of the other WPACs have gone and worked with, Cows and Fish on their digital storytelling series. This is something that's really appealing to me. How do you build a narrative that has relevance for a population that's as diverse as the people from across our watershed? So sometimes reality is too complex and stories give it form. Right now there's a major trend in research and environmental research to focus on bright spots, to look for where people are getting it right, and to highlight those stories and to put them on a pedestal for something for people to aspire to. I would love to include more of those in our work, and also the potential to use scenarios to, again, play with questions of narrative. And as a final design idea, I'm really curious into how can we design for complexity? So again, recognizing that we're working in social ecological systems, which have these characteristics. They are complex, they are emergent, and they are nonlinear. So we recognize that not every situation is created equal, and thus our approaches to solving problems have to be tailored to the given context that we are in. And so I hope I can do an okay job of explaining this. I just learned this 3 weeks ago. But I came across this framework called the Cynefin framework that talks about 5 different types of situations we might find ourselves in. So we might be confronted with a simple problem, and that has a rather simple approach to fixing it. So if a tap is leaky, we know how to fix a tap, right? You just turn it off. It doesn't take much planning. You just do it. In a knowable, in the top right there, you might have a complicated system. So let's say we need to treat water. We know that if we get the right experts in a room, they can design us a secondary or tertiary treatment system that works well. So we know how to deal with the problem of water treatment. But what happens when we need to ask the question of how will we work together? What governance systems will work in the context of WPACs in Alberta? But we don't actually have the answers to that. We have different ideas and we can experiment with those ideas, but the context is always changing. So this framework is telling us that in conditions of complexity, your process designs have to be different. So with that in mind, the Red Deer River Watershed Alliance is currently exploring the potential of collaborating with Alberta EcoTrust on their Watershed Protectors Lab. Who's heard of the Protectors Lab before? Great, that's awesome. So the social labs is an approach that I'm really excited about. It says here, a social lab is a multi-stakeholder platform through which a diverse team of stakeholders works together using the heads, hearts, and hands to address a complex challenge. So again, this is a real social approach to moving forward on an IWMP and its implementation. And we're, trying to figure out how we can bring stakeholders together in a more meaningful way to explore different options for moving forward together. And we're curious as to whether social labs will be one of the methods we could use. So if anybody has had experience with social labs or would like to talk about them more, I'd love to talk about that in the coming days. So to conclude, our IWMP development continues, and we've really come a long way, and I think it's something that the Alliance can be proud of. In the coming months, we'll be turning our attention to phase 1, where we will be trying to write the water quality component. We'll be moving forward on the writing of the IWMP in 4 phases, so addressing different components of the system. We will also be exploring options that can bring us closer to our vision for the IWMP. Some of these options are easy wins, like telling stories of success, these bright spots. Some of them are big ideas. We're not sure if they will work for us yet, so something like social labs. And at the core, we're really going to focus on engagement and relationships and try to bring that into the core of everything we do. And yeah, to conclude, I'm a newbie, so I hope some of these ideas were interesting to you, and I look forward to learning from you all.